Hello guys, welcome back to my channel, and listen, now today is the third episode of the Master Series. So, you thought about what Masters you're going to apply for and why, you've written your personal statement, and now the third installment, which is you are now in the application stage where you may have to send references or documentation, supporting documents, a CV and so on. And so that is what we're going to talk about today, references and documentations. But before we get started on those documentations, I have to tell you about the most important one. This video is sponsored by Census 2021. And yes, I am here to remind you that even though the census date has already passed, you can still submit your census. This is a legal requirement. Also, if we are going to predict how many students are going to be in university in the years following, the progression that we've made, we need that information. And also for employment, for those who may be unemployed, for those who are struggling to find work because you may come from a specific background, whether that's class or ethnicity or gender, then this is the time for you to fill out this information. But I'm also going to show you how quickly it is to do. Let's do it together. Now you need a 16-character access code. What on earth? Where do I find this? Well, if you don't have one, you can request a new access code to start a new census. Just click the link down below. What is your postcode? Now this part is very important for UK university students. Make sure that when you put your postcode in, you put the UK address of your university. So your university's postcode. Even if you are studying at home because of the pandemic, still put in your university UK address. So to request a code, we need your address. So UK postcode. I'm going to put down my university accommodation provider's postcode. Stopwatch starting. I'm doing the census now. Okay, 4 minutes and 2 seconds. That is everything done. So make sure you guys fill out the census. The link is down below in the description box. It helps with so many aspects of understanding society, regulating society, and helping improve society. So check out the census. Let's move on to the video. Okay, now starting off with probably the most important aspect of the references and documentation video, the actual references. Now, this is really, really important because essentially these are individuals that you've known in your life, usually academic, maybe professional, who'll be writing a statement about you that will be then looked at from your course providers, right? So they have some weight. I would say they hold a lot of weight. Now, the advice you're giving generally, and this is from top UK universities, is that you want to make sure that your supervisor is academic. It could be your director of studies, it could be your dissertation supervisor, it could be a past lecturer that you've had, but who it's not your former A-level teacher. Believe me, I did that. It's not your previous work colleague who used to work on a social media platform. It's not that. It needs to be academic. So now you know that it's an academic. Is there a hierarchy? Is the more senior person you get for your reference, is that going to score you points? To this, I would say it depends. The reason why I would usually say no is because I have been told that it doesn't matter if you've got the Pro Vice Chancellor of Cambridge writing your reference. I did. It only matters if they actually know who you are and they can talk about some shared experiences. Otherwise, what's the point of having these big names and name dropping when they don't even know you? And this is something that I think affects a lot of social class barriers because, of course, people with lots of cultural capital, people with a really big high network can access these really prestige people. So to equalize a level playing field, it's more about quality over quantity. It's more about quality over prestige. So I knew that I wanted a wide range of people writing my references. So I got 4 candidates. The fourth one, the most senior, was the Pro Vice Chancellor of Education at Cambridge University, Professor Graham Virgo, who actually wrote this book over here that I studied for my law school. And I knew Professor Graham Virgo because we had previously worked on a few panels together regarding access and outreach, and because at Cambridge, he kind of was familiar with the work I do. So I sent an email and I just asked, thinking the worst thing they could do is say no, and they said yes. I did ask the Vice Chancellor, the official Vice Chancellor, Stephen Tube. He did not reply. So the worst thing they could do is say no or not reply. Professor Graham Virgo replied. And then I also asked the president of Wolfson College, Jane Clark. I then asked a former lecturer of mine, Sarah Baker, and then I asked my supervisor for my dissertation, Dr. Louis Major. So these 4 candidates, what I did was, and this was advised to me by Jane Clark, give them your personal statement so they can read exactly why you want to study the course so that they're aware, your referee is aware. Also give them your CV so they can see what work experience you have. Then lastly, give them like a reference sheet where you put in there some specific things that you've done that they would like to talk about. Because the reality is you have a whole life and they have a whole life, they could forget who you are. Maybe they need some reminding. So I sent 3 things to each referee: my personal statement, my CV, and some letter, some document that said all of the things I've accomplished. And here's what I did. I gave a unique letter to each referee. So when it came to my supervisor for my dissertation for undergrad, I said, this is what I think you should highlight: the fact that I've spoken at this university abroad where I've shared my dissertation findings. Maybe you should highlight this, the fact that this dissertation was able to get this many participants. As opposed to when I gave my letter to my past lecturer in psychology education, I kind of highlighted to her, here's the topics I've done, here's the essays I've done, here's my love for the psychology of education. I got a first class in that. When it came to the president of Wolfson College, I mentioned, here's what I've done for Wolfson, this policy change, this initiative. And then when it came to the professor vice chancellor of education, I was like, here's what I've done for the university as a whole, and here's all the references. And that way they were able to make tailored references for me that was inspired by me. That way you're not telling them what to write, you're just kind of like, here you go, here's some information. And that is the best way to do it. The second thing is CVs. Now, I mentioned that you want to send your CV to your actual referees, but you also need to submit your CV to the university application portal. Now, I would say when it comes to CV, try to keep it as professional, as clear, and just as corporate as you can. I think that you probably already know this, but I submitted a CV my first round to Harvard of a picture of my face with all fancy fonts, thinking that this will make me seem more creative. And I think just remember that the university application and like the admissions team for master's program, I think they're looking at your personal statement to see creativity, but your CV is just like almost a transcript of your work experience. So try to keep it as simple. I have 3 separate CVs. One is specific for just education, where it talks about my education experience, kind of the work I've done. It also mentions all the talks and the panels that I've been on related to education. And then my references are also education related. When it came to submitting for a master's in education, I used the education one. I did highlight some of my legal experience in there because obviously a law school, but it was the education one. So if you've got too many things, feel free to cut things out. You definitely need to. You don't want everything in there. I would say mine was 2 pages. Keep it very short, keep it very plain font, readable, accessible, and just submit that, but nothing fancy. The third thing is you might need to send essays or previous written work that you've done. And I submitted 2 things. One, a passage from my undergraduate dissertation to show them what I can do in a researcher's perspective. Because obviously the master's course, there was a 20,000 word dissertation that I need to currently be doing. And so I wanted to show them what I can do. Now, of course, I can't send them the whole thing because there was a word limit of 2,000 words. I sent them the introduction, the literature review, and the conclusion. The second thing I sent them was an essay I did in my psychology of education paper that was about social influence on education, and it was something that I felt very strongly about, confident about, passionate about, that if they were to bring up in an interview, I could be able to speak forever about it. And academically, I knew the data and the studies at the back of my hand, so I was able to kind of convey to them, this is what I can do in an essay format. And I knew that this would impress them because you can see what I'm like from a researcher's perspective doing a dissertation. You can also see what I'm like from an essay basis when I have to submit assignments, which is what the course is based on. You want to show them 2 separate documents that can show off your skills as an academic student. So that is my advice. And the last 2 things are transcripts and test scores. I won't spend too much time on this because for transcripts, you just need a copy from your university. I went to Cambridge and I got mine digitally. Because I actually appealed and my grade changed, I didn't have the official transcript. So I had to get an unofficial transcript online while the official one was being made, and during that time there was the deadline, so I just sent them the unofficial one and they were happy with that. But when I got my offer, I did have to send them my raw one afterwards. So I think in terms of you're making an offer and you're rushed for time, maybe just speak to the admissions team and just ask them, is it okay to send you my unofficial one because of X, Y, and Z, and also my transcript from my GDL. Having said that, the GDL wasn't really completed. I didn't finish it. I don't think I even had one exam when I was sending my transcript. So I did just send them like a student confirmation letter that I was on the course. I'm sure in a pandemic they'll be absolutely fine with it. So I sent them my unofficial one. And then when it came to my test scores, I didn't need to submit anything because Oxford do not require the GRE, which is good. I prefer that. Obviously, when it came to Harvard and I did the GRE, I had to submit them, my test scores, but I submitted that through the GRE system there and then. So test scores need to be submitted through the actual test provider. Of course, with all of these documents, make sure you read them. I cannot tell you how important that is. Make sure you put those full stops in, make sure you capitalize the right letter. But I would say this is a really big part of the application process, so make sure you do not flop it and do not leave your references last minute. I will say this, I made an application to another university and my referee was late. The deadline already passed. And because she was late, I said to them, we're in a pandemic, you know, is it okay that they were 2 days late? And the graduate team said, no. No. To make it fair, no. And there was no passing that. And so I would say make sure you get everything done early as you can. That is it from this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please make sure you follow me on Instagram and LinkedIn. And yeah, follow me on LinkedIn and keep me updated what universities you're applying to. I know that a bunch of people have gone to Oxford and Cambridge for their masters. That's one, congratulations. The next video will be about scholarships. But apart from that, thank you so much for watching this video and good luck with your applications. Good luck, good luck, good luck. And please keep me updated. Good luck and God bless.